My name is Betty Walker, and this is my voice. I live in a narrow brick house on Maple Street in Brooklyn, New York, in America. The house is old, with a white door that sticks in summer and a brass number that hangs crooked. I painted the porch myself for $72 and kept the receipt in a shoebox, as if paper could hold the color. The trim is a calm blue. Kelly, my best friend, said the blue makes the house look like hope. Inside, the floors creak in the middle and are quiet at the edges. The kitchen is small but enough. A stove, a coffee maker with a chipped handle, and a round table from a yard sale for $25. I keep 4 plates, 2 mugs, and 1 jar for flowers. This house is not grand, but it is honest, and it holds me without asking for more. My parents, Linda and Robert, live in Ohio, where the sky feels wide and the roads run straight for miles. When I call them, I hear the TV and the clinking of my dad's coins as he rolls them into paper sleeves. He taught me to count dollars with my thumb damp just a little and to write the date on every envelope. He taught me to patch a hole in drywall and to test the heat before the first frost. My mother keeps a list on the fridge and crosses out each item with a hard line. She likes plans and a clean kitchen. In our house, growing up, chores had prices: $1 to pull weeds, $3 to wash the car, and I learned how money can turn time into something you can stack. But love did not have a price there. It shifted with the weather, and most days the wind blew toward my sister. Emma is my sister. She moves through a room like music you cannot ignore, and my parents always turn up the volume for her. Last spring, she planned a trip to Europe, the kind that looks like a music video at night and a postcard in the day. She sent photos to the family chat, and Mom replied with notes on shoes that would not rub and a jacket that would not wrinkle. Dad asked about insurance and how much extra the tour would charge if she added 1 more stop. When I shared my wedding date, Mom wrote, "We will see what Emma decides," with a small smile. I read the words twice and felt the old tilt in the floor, the tilt that appears whenever Emma points and my parents turn. I told myself it would be fine. I had learned to move forward even when the ground was not steady. I planned a small day. It would be City Hall and a walk through the park after. It would be coffee and a slice of cake, the kind that leaves a sweet line on your lip. I did not need a big show. I needed a clear vow and a steady hand in mine. The man I love said we could make it any way I wanted. He said our promise was the gold of the day, and the rest was decoration. Kelly helped me choose a simple cream dress with a torn tag, and the clerk smiled and took $20 off. I wore flats I already owned and pressed them so the leather would lie smooth. I set aside $40 in an envelope labeled Little Celebrations and tucked it into my bag with my lipstick and a pack of tissues. It was enough, truly. The week before, I wiped the baseboards and washed the windows until the light came through like clean water. I bought a small bouquet from the shop on the corner for $12 and kept it in a glass jar on the table. The stems tapped the glass when the subway passed, a bright, small sound. My mother sent a short message that said, "We will see what Emma decides." I set down my phone and folded towels that did not need folding. I told myself love could fill an empty aisle like sunlight fills a room. I asked my neighbor Mark to take a porch picture, and his wife, April, offered me a simple hairpin. Kelly promised to meet me for a dinner lunch. I pressed my dress, hung it on the door, and slept with a steady heart. On the morning of my wedding, the sky over Brooklyn was pale gray. I woke before my alarm, stood by the stove, and made coffee. The apartment smelled like toast, and the lemon cleaner I bought for $3 on sale. I checked my bag for the license, my ID, and a few dollars for the train. Then my phone lit up with a voice message. My mother's name was there. I pressed play. Mom's voice came first, then Dad's, as if passing the phone across the table in Ohio. "Your punishment is to be alone in marriage, so that you realize you have a sister too," they said. The words were flat and cold. I stood in my small kitchen with the wobbly $15 chair and felt the floor tilt. I wrote the time on an envelope and slid the phone inside. I touched the blue trim, locked my white door, and walked to the subway alone. I married Ethan Hale at City Hall on a thin, bright Thursday, the kind of morning that makes New York look scrubbed and patient. I took the subway alone with my cream dress folded under a denim jacket, the license application in a brown envelope, and the small envelope marked "Little Celebrations" tucked into my wallet. The car swung and sang against the track. A boy in a Yankees cap offered me a seat. I thanked him and kept standing because the sway steadied me. When I climbed the stone steps, Ethan was waiting by the brass rail with 2 paper cups and a grin that belonged to no one but me. He wore the navy suit he already owned and no flashy watch. He kissed my forehead, handed me coffee, and said, "Ready?" I said yes because I was. Inside, City Hall smelled like paper and lemon, an honest smell that tells you new names get written here every day. We paid the $92 fee at a small window rubbed smooth by other couples. The clerk, a woman in pink glasses with a tiny flag pin, wished us luck as if blessing bread. My hand didn't shake when I signed. Ethan's left hand moved slowly and neatly. We needed a witness and had none, so the woman behind us, Janet, a nurse with a blue lanyard, smiled and said she would stand with us. Her fiancé, a tall man named Luis, checked his watch and laughed. "Make it quick," he joked, and the room softened. I thanked them both the way you thank people who step in at the exact right moment for no reason except kindness. The officiant had silver hair and a tie scattered with tiny anchors. "Anchors are for steady seas," he said when I complimented it, and something in me settled. We stood beneath a wooden frame that had heard 1,000 promises. Ethan's palm was warm and dry. My ring was a thin gold band I'd found for $120, wrapped in brown paper like a loaf. His band was plain and light. Our vows were simple, the kind you could say with a sore throat and still mean forever. I loved the sound of our names shoulder to shoulder. Betty and Ethan, like 2 words that had been waiting to stand next to each other on the page. When the officiant pronounced us married, the air felt thicker and kinder, as if the room itself exhaled. Janet hugged me, as if she were passing on good weather. "Go eat something," she said, like a prescription that works every time. We obeyed. We found a pizza counter 2 blocks away and took corner slices to the curb because all the stools were full. The cook slid napkins toward us and said, "On your wedding day, you get the good corners." Grease pooled, and the cheese stretched like ribbon. Ethan laughed at the tough sauce on his chin. I wiped it away with my thumb and left my hand there a second longer than needed. We left $100 in the tip jar because the cook had smiled at us like we were lucky, and I wanted luck to be a circle that kept widening. On the walk back, Ethan bought me a single tulip from a cart for $5 and tucked it into the crook of my arm. A woman offered to take our photo on the courthouse steps. In it, my dress is a little creased and his tie a little loose, and we are grinning like kids who have found a door behind a door. We walked to the park with our fingers linked and a brown bag of orange slices thumping my hip. "Do you feel different?" I asked. "Like the ground is firm," he said. We talked about the week ahead, his meeting with investors where he would listen more than speak, my project at the library where I would sort new books by hand and breathe in the paper dust. Ethan is not what people picture when they hear the word billionaire. He is kind first, quiet second, and rich somewhere after that. He started with $600 in a shared place in Chicago. Now his company works across America and into parts of Europe, but his heart lives on our block. We sat on a bench and split an orange, the juice running sweet and sticky down my wrist. A boy tried to sell us paper flowers for $3. Ethan bought 2 and handed one back for the next bride. I tucked the other behind my ear and felt foolish for a breath and brave the breath after. A guitarist played by the path, and we dropped $5 into his case because marriage felt like a song you learn by listening and then humming along. The afternoon folded itself into shade, and we rode the train home pressed knee to knee like people who know they will have years for the rest of the seats. At our stop, we climbed to Maple Street. Mark was sweeping his stoop. April leaned out the window with a dish towel over her shoulder. "Well," she called. "We did it," I said, and held up my hand like a small flag. Mark crossed the sidewalk and took a photo with our porch behind us, the blue trim, the crooked brass number, the door that sticks in summer. April brought 2 iced teas and 3 cookies because she forgot how to count when she is happy. Inside, the house felt like it had made an inch more room for our promise. Ethan set the license on the round table like a map of a country we had just entered. I put the tulip in the glass jar and our rings in a dish for a second, just to see the smallness of their shine, then slid them back where they belonged. We ate leftover pasta with butter and pepper and called it celebration because joy doesn't ask for a price tag. From the Little Celebrations envelope, we took $50 and set it aside for the shelter down the block, a start to the habit of giving we want to keep. When the plates were clean, Ethan wrote day one on a scrap and tucked it into the shoebox where I keep paint receipts and other proofs that effort matters. The house settled like a cat finding a warm place. Pipes hummed. A car door clicked somewhere far away. Later, I made one small post with a photo from the steps and the line, "Married today. Home soon." No tags, no extra shine. We turned off the lights and let the city move without us. In the dark, Ethan found my hand and squeezed once, a quiet signal. "We're all right," he said. "We are," I answered. I thought of my parents and the message on my phone that tried to make me small. It did not fit anymore. The room had grown by that quiet inch. Tomorrow would speak in its own voice. Tonight was only ours. I fell asleep with my phone on the dresser and woke to the thin light that makes Maple Street look washed and kind. The tulip from the courthouse slumped in its jar like it had also stayed up late. I made coffee and opened the window so the living room could breathe. Only then did I check the photo I had posted, me and Ethan on the courthouse steps, my dress creased, his tie loose, our smiles honest. The caption still looked right to me. "Married today. Home soon." I had written it in 10 seconds and set the phone down like a hot pan. I wanted to keep the day small. I wanted the truth to stand on its feet without extra words holding it up. By morning, the post had seated itself across my little corner of America. Cousin Olivia had left a row of red hearts. Uncle James wrote, "Proud of you, kid." A woman from the library said, "You deserve the sweetest days." I scrolled and felt calm. Kelly texted that she was coming by with bagels and 2 coffees, declaring the second coffee insurance. I wiped the round table and set out 2 plates. The house looked like itself, blue trim, crooked brass number, the white door that sticks in summer. I buttered toast and counted the bills in the tin on the counter, $18 in ones, a 5, and a few coins. The numbers steadied me the way a level steadies a shelf. Then the calls began. The first was from my mother. I did not answer. The second was from my father. I did not answer that either. Emma sent a message that popped up like a small siren. "Why didn't you tell me?" She added a crying face and then 3 more, like tears you can buy in bulk. I put the phone face down and listened to the block wake, the recycling truck, a dog, a pair of sneakers slapping the sidewalk. Kelly reached the stoop with a paper bag and a grin. She tore a bagel in half and handed me the bigger piece, as if she could weigh need with her fingertips. We ate on the steps while the city warmed up around us. When I turned the phone over, I saw a link in the comments from a man I barely know, the sort who tells you the weather like a secret. It led to a business list that counted other people's money with the joy of a scoreboard. There was Ethan's name with numbers that kept going, $2 billion. A lot of zeros. It looked fake at the bottom of my little photo, like a gold crown on a paper doll. I felt something hot leak into the day. Not shame, exactly, but a heat that draws eyes you did not invite. I thought of Ethan paying the deli guy $50 on a long night, and how he never kept a photo of himself on the office wall. I thought of his plan to give $10,000 to the shelter down the block because steadiness should widen, not harden. The number on the screen did not make him bigger or smaller. It only made the room feel crowded. My father texted next, "Betty, is this true?" He did not say hello. He did not ask how the ceremony went or whether my dress was warm enough. My mother called 10 times in a row, as if she could pound through the door of my phone. Emma wrote, "We could redo the wedding for $50,000 and make it proper. Like money could sweep the dust and shame into one easy pile." I put the phone down again. I washed the 2 plates and set them on the rack to dry. I folded dish towels that did not need folding and opened the back door to let the quiet in. Kelly watched me do these small things with the steady patience of someone guarding a candle flame. "You don't have to answer them," she said. "Silence can be a sentence." I nodded, but I felt the weight of the old, soft hope that if we explained, they would understand. That if we were careful, they would see me as more than the shadow of my sister's bright shape. I carried this hope like some carry small debts. Never enough to crush you, always enough to press. I took the phone to the table and opened the voice message again, the one from the morning of my wedding, the one where my parents said, "Your punishment is to be alone in marriage, so that you realize you have a sister too." The sentence sat there, neat as a receipt. I wrote and erased a dozen replies. I tried, this hurt me, and it felt too soft. I tried, you chose a trip over my vows, and it felt like shouting through a closed window. I stared at the photo of me and Ethan and thought about the difference between noise and truth. The truth is not a weapon. It is a light switch. You flip it, and the room shows itself. I opened the comment box beneath my own post, and I typed, "I invited my parents. They chose a trip." Their words are still on my phone. I attached the transcript of the voicemail, plain and exact. No extra heat. No long speech. I pressed post and set the phone down like you set down a heavy bowl without spilling. The street kept moving. A mail carrier slid envelopes into our slot. Mark hosed his sidewalk. April shook a rug that flashed like a flag. In the space between the next calls, Ethan came home with a carton of eggs and a paper sack of oranges. He had seen the link too. People had sent it to him with glitter and awe. He kissed my cheek and looked at my eyes the way you look at a map to make sure you're not lost. "I'm with you," he said. It was a simple sentence, but it felt like a door clicking open inside my chest. We scrambled eggs and split an orange and made the kind of lunch you don't take a photo of. The house felt firm under us, as if the beams had set their shoulders. Online, the comments turned like a tide. Some cousins said they were sorry and that they didn't know. An aunt wrote that family is complicated and I should be the bigger person, which is easy advice from a couch. A man from Ohio, I barely remember, tried to explain my parents to me as if I had never lived in that house. I read a few and then stopped. The point of the truth is not to win an argument. It is to end one. I went to the sink and washed the knife and watched the water turn clear again. My phone buzzed and then went quiet the way a storm does when it runs out of itself. In the hush that followed, the room grew an inch, the way rooms do when someone finally says what needs saying. I looked at Ethan and thought, this is our life, and our life does not need permission slips from anyone. Kelly gathered the bagel bag and smoothed it flat for no reason except habit. She kissed my hair and left. Ethan and I sat with our palms touching on the table as if we were warming the same coin. Outside, a taxi rolled past and kept going. I did not know yet that another taxi would stop at our curb by afternoon. I only knew that the truth had taken a chair in the middle of my house and crossed its legs like it planned to stay. By afternoon, a yellow taxi slid to the curb like a bright hornet looking for a place to land. I heard it before I saw it. The engine a steady hum under the window fan. When I opened the white door that sticks in summer, my parents were already halfway up the porch steps, with Emma behind them in dark glasses, her phone held like a shield. The sunlight made the blue trim of the house look brave. My heart beat hard, but my feet were steady on the chipped paint. Inside, Ethan was making tea the way he always does, careful and quiet, letting the steam tell time. He didn't come to the door. He trusts my voice, and that trust is a hand at the small of my back. Mom reached toward me and then past me, her eyes quick, taking inventory. The porch, the room behind me, the lack of a shiny car in the driveway we don't have. "Betty, we didn't know," she said, as if ignorance were a pass. Dad started talking numbers at once, like a salesman laying out a plan. "We can help manage this. We know people. You need a strategy." He had the look he used to wear at yard sales when he thought a price tag was an invitation to dance. Emma lifted her glasses and smiled that small smile that always meant she was already bored. "We should redo the wedding," she said. $50, 000, easy. A proper day, not this. She waved a hand to my porch, at my life, at the air that held my husband's careful tea. Their words felt like a shopping trip where I was the thing in the window. I thought of their message from the morning of my wedding. Your punishment is to be alone in marriage, so that you realize you have a sister too." The sentence had tried to make loneliness a lesson, and me the chalkboard. I looked at my doorframe, at the thin notch where Mark had sanded the wood last fall so it would sit better. He offered to do it for free, and I gave him $200 because work is work and money should tell the truth about effort. I thought of Kelly's steady hands and April's extra cookie and Ethan's quiet laugh, the one he saves for the end of a long day. I thought of the first time I turned the key in this lock and felt the house breathe out like it was glad I came home. I thought of America in the way I love it. This block, these names, the habit of neighbors. "This is my home," I said, and my voice surprised me with its calm. "In America. You chose a trip over my vows. You chose a sentence that tried to make me small. I am not small." The words were simple, like a level you set on a shelf. Dad tried to push through with the old tone that made me 12 again. "Betty, be sensible. Opportunity looks different now. You don't know what you're doing." Mom's eyes filled in the practiced way that used to make me rush to fix things. Emma added, "You could at least thank me for not making a scene online." I held the door with my left hand and kept the frame under my fingers like a rail. "I wish you healing," I said, and I meant it. "But the punishment you spoke of has ended. You cannot come in." For a second, the porch was all breath and no words. Dad's mouth opened and closed like a porch light blinking. Mom made the soft sound she makes when a plan slips. Emma laughed, a small, dry leaf of a sound. "You're making a mistake," she said, and glanced at the street as if another taxi could save her from being told no. I could feel the old pull in my chest, the tug that says pick up the hurt, carry it for them. Pay for everything with your softer parts. I let the tug pass through me and out the open window. I was tired of paying bills that weren't mine. I closed the door. It clicked, soft as rain, and the sound went through the house like a string pulled tight. My hands shook for a breath, then I found the cup Ethan was holding out. He had made the good tea, the one in the tin with the little ship on it. We sat on the floor by the round table and let the quiet gather. Ethan didn't ask for a play-by-play. He put his palm over mine until the shake left, and then he said, "What do you want to do next?" It is a small miracle, the person who asks that and waits for your answer. "Give," I said. "Today, not later." We counted from the little celebration stack we had started and added to it from a drawer we do not talk about. We wrote a note and a check for $10,000 to the shelter down the block because standing in love should widen the circle, not narrow it. We made a list with a pen that sometimes skips. Paint the living room. Patch the porch step. Take a train one day across America, New York to Chicago to Denver to Seattle, just to watch the land roll by, and buy coffee in cups that say the name of each city. Maybe we would see Europe on our own terms another year, the two of us, just to test the shape of distance and return. For now, we chose our block. We added small things. $50 for rollers, $18 for drop cloths, and 2 sample jars to test the light. We planned a thank you dinner for Mark and April and Kelly, where we would cook too much pasta and send them home with leftovers in clean jars. I wrote day 2 on a scrap and tucked it into the shoebox with the porch paint receipt and the letter from City Hall. Effort matters, and so does the record of it. The phone shook the table now and then with messages that tried to relight what I had put out. I let them pass. I sent one note to my parents that said, "I need no further contact for now. Please respect that." I didn't add a speech. A boundary doesn't need mirrors. It needs hinges. I blocked the numbers for a while because silence is sometimes the only tool that works. The house held the quiet the way a good bowl holds soup. No leaks, no cracks. Only warmth rising. Near evening, Mark tapped the door with a knuckle and left a bag of screws on the mat for the loose rail. April texted a picture of the sunset caught in the kitchen window and wrote, "Blue looks good on Brave." Kelly came by with iced tea and sat cross-legged on the floor with us. We didn't talk about the porch visit until the sun was nearly gone. When we did, I told it straight, the way you read a label. Kelly listened and nodded and said, "You did the grown thing." It felt like placing a weight on one side of a scale and seeing it level out. Outside, the taxi idled for a minute longer and then pulled away. I watched its taillights smooth into the stream of evening, then vanish. The block settled into its usual music, the soft hiss of buses, the murmur of people walking home, the thud of a basketball on concrete. I touched the white door and felt the paint warm from the last of the day. My name fits me. My house fits me. My life, priced in dollars and built in simple days, was mine. I poured more tea and leaned my head on Ethan's shoulder. The room felt 1 inch bigger again. Not because of money,